And you're watching PM Express here on the Joy News channel with me, Blessed Sogah, where we are bringing you a special package from Parliament, where the Speaker of the House has set in motion processes to reconstitute Parliament's Appointments Committee. Over the last week, Ghanaians were in shock, and many of them have taken to social media, raising concerns after a brawl broke out in Parliament, where we saw some parliamentarians destroying state property. Of course, many have been reliving the moment and calling on Parliament to act swiftly and discipline some members of the House who have found on tape many excerpts that many of you find going viral on social media. A reason for which we've come to the House to try as much as possible to understand what transpired last week on Parliament's Appointments Committee, what the Speaker is likely to do, and what the leadership of the House itself is likely to do about all that transpired last week and what will inform the way forward. It's part of the conversation that we will be having with the chairperson of Parliament's Appointments Committee, the First Deputy Speaker, Bernard Ahiafo, who will be my guest shortly. This is PM Express, brought to you by Syntex Tank, Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, and also Academic Times. We'll be back after this break, but when we get back, we'll put all the questions to him. Please stay. And thanks for staying with us here on the Joy News channel. My guest for tonight is Bernard Ahiafo, the chairperson of Parliament's Appointments Committee and also the First Deputy Speaker of the House. Mr. Ahiafo, thank you for talking to Joy News.
Thank you too. Thank you very much for having me.
Indeed, it's been a very busy week for you. In fact, busy months, we should say, because you are not just walking into a leadership role in Parliament, you're also the chair of Parliament's Appointments Committee. However, your work as a committee has come under intense public scrutiny. In just a space of less than 2 weeks, I should say, your House has vetted over 40 nominees of President John Dramani Mahama. Is your committee gradually becoming a rubber stamp when indeed you should be performing parliamentary oversight over the executive?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity given me. And let me say a very good evening to your cherished viewers, not forgetting the people of Akati South constituency. As a matter of fact, the committee is not a rubber stamp. What is it that the committee should do in vetting the nominees that the committee have not done? I maintain that the Constitution, the supreme law of the land above and beyond which no further law exists, should be a guide. The Constitution in Article 78 indicates clearly that for you to qualify to be a Minister of State, you must otherwise qualify to be a Member of Parliament. And the qualification of a Member of Parliament is spelled out in Article 94. So most of the people that we have even vetted so far are all members of Parliament. So it means constitutionally they are qualified to be Ministers of State. Therefore, their vetting should be narrowed to their knowledge about the policies in relation to their various fields, their competency to be able to do that. So I do not see the public judging the committee for not doing 2 days vetting for a nominee to be rubber stamping.
Let me tell you what it is that you've not done, because the concern is the speedy nature in which the nominations and subsequently the approvals are being done is unprecedented. Do you agree? It's never happened ever since the start of this fourth democratic dispensation. You are supposed to, for instance, allow for memoranda from the general public. You've not permitted the public to send you memoranda on any of the nominees so far. Therefore, all you're doing is simply working with questions perhaps your officers may have provided you
I
with.
beg to differ.
Right.
We have always given publishing papers requesting for a memoranda. The publications are there to speak for the committee. There is no single nominee vetted without publication in papers requesting for a memoranda. So for every single nominee vetted, we did so. If the public is complaining that for some of them, the memoranda or the publication requesting for memoranda was too short, then I will agree. But in this case, we are always guided by our standing order. The framers of the standing order never indicated the period within which the memo is supposed to last. I'm taking you to standing order 21710 that regulates the request for a memo. And I may say for two of the ministers who were under some imperative to conduct the vetting so that they can travel outside the country in a designated capacity to solve a problem regarding our energy sector for you and I.
So it's political expediency, isn't it?
Ghanaians as a whole. So some political expediencies demand that for this case, you will not be giving, we are not able to give a long period within which the general public.
And per what you're telling us now, you're basically confirming the position of the minority side. They say they've not had enough time to ask the relevant questions and to subject the nominees to proper scrutiny.
Well, for me, they have enough time to ask questions. And the short period within which we published and requested for memo from the general public was in respect of 3 of the ministerial nominees, or 3 of the ministers, because we vetted and approved them. And all the 3, they've been deputy ministers of state. They continue to be members of parliament till today. And they were in leadership. So, apart from being members of parliament, qualified constitutionally to be ministers, they've been deputy ministers as those
not
various...
prejudice? Are you not moving into prejudice? Because something, at least, could be wrong with these individuals.
Well, so if there is something wrong with this individual, I believe the general public have even the opportunity to bring it out against them. Because if such a thing is so grave to have disqualified them from being ministers, then you should have equally disqualified them from becoming members of parliament. But I'm saying that apart from these people being members of parliament and former deputy ministers of state, they are part of leadership of parliament.
You have promised.
So I do not know how long the public wants to be put on notice to be able to bring a memoranda regarding some of the nominees in particular.
You belong to the National Democratic Congress, correct?
Yes, I belong to the National Democratic Congress.
Your party has promised on countless occasions that you will use your parliamentary majority responsibly, quote, responsibly. Yes. President John Mahama has said that, your party chairperson has said that. In fact, the majority leader has told me that you intend to use your majority responsibly. Yes. That's what you tell the people of Ghana. So how on earth will you have time to ask the relevant questions to as many as 10 nominees in a day, when indeed they are to appear before the same committee of about 11?
Well, thank you very much. This is the way it happens. If a nominee is before you and members continue to ask questions, you would agree with me that some of the nominees were vetted for 6 hours. Some are vetted for 5 hours. But some within an hour, they are discharged. Some within 2 hours, they are discharged. So if a nominee is sitting before the committee, depending upon the number of questions that members pose to the nominee, will tell the length of the vetting. So If the minority is given the opportunity to ask a question, the majority is given a question to ask a question, and in no time they are done with their question, then you have to proceed to take another nominee.
Was that the agreement last Friday?
Yes, that was the agreement, and that has been the agreement right from the beginning.
From the accounts given by Alexander Apenyumakin, the minority leader, the promise is to do the last nominee, which then was the transport nominee, and after which you'd retire for the day and allow for broader consultations on two individuals who are going to appear before your committee. Of course, the minority then had decided that they were going to take votes on these two individuals without naming them, and also to vet the nominee for health, Mr. Kando, the next day. Why were you not willing to vouch to the concerns that the minority then had?
In life, honesty is the best policy. It is the truth that will make you free. I have indicated everywhere that I am prepared to even speak under oath to the effect that I had a discussion with the minority leader prior to Akando being asked to sit down there for vetting. He never claimed to have opposed to Akando being vetted, or they will have a way of taking a decision based on Akando. He intimated to me in a plain language that he doesn't have a problem of Akando being vetted. So the attitude that I don't like is that, oh no, we are not going to vet this person. We are not going to vet this person. It doesn't lie in our hands to decide that we'll vet A, but we'll not vet B. What is your reason for not vetting B? I believed that Akando, Honorable Komnaminta Akando, was in a category of people that their advert was even more than a week prior to the day of vetting them. So enough notice has been given to the general public requesting for a memoranda, but we have not received any memoranda. And flowing from the date of their nomination and a copy of the referrer being given to the minority, they should be able to start any investigation that they may want to conduct on Akando. You cannot say that for a ministerial nominee, you need more than a week to be able to dig the background of this particular nominee sitting with you every day in Parliament. I do not really agree on the impression that they were trying to portray, that they didn't have enough time to dig into the background of the nominees. At the end of the day, let me tell you that for every nominee, we normally even go to the extent of picking a security checks on them.
Subsequently,
a copy of the security check would usually be given to the minority leader, and we'll look at the security checks reports before vetting them. There was one occasion when I even read the conclusion of the security check after vetting Honorable Ajay. So they have more than enough time to be able to do whatever they want to do based on. In fact, they even have occasion of even consulting experts regarding the field that the person is going to hold. So, in fact, on Thursday, Friday, the people who were vetted on Thursday, Friday were publishing papers together with people that we have vetted on Monday, people that we vetted on Tuesday. So you cannot say that you have time to scrutinize those published the same day on Monday, Tuesday, but Wednesday, up to Wednesday, you are not able to scrutinize them. Meanwhile, they were in the same set category of publication. So for us, Honesty is the best policy.
Ghanaians were obviously expecting some divide, obviously because of the optics and also the politicking that goes into the vetting of nominees. But many were shocked when hell broke loose and, some members of the House decided to destroy the furniture that you were using to vet the nominees.
Well,
you subsequently apologized to the people of Ghana, except to say that you were partly complicit in what happened. Do you take responsibility for what happened?
Well, Ghanaians will not take it that I am complicit. That is why I'm rendering an apology. I am coming from a common culture with you that as a leader, in matters of this nature, you apologize on behalf of everybody, though you are not the cause of whatever happened. So that being part of me, on most of the occasion, though I am not the cause of the incidents that happened, I render an apology on behalf of the entire committee for us to make progress. So the fact that on behalf of the entire committee, I have rendered an apology based on a wrongdoing on part of some members of the committee does not mean I am part of the incident.
Are you saying that completely you have nothing to do with what happened?
Yes, I can cite many examples. One, Honorable Edward Romani Boama was written to appear before us at 11. His letter says 11. Now, as a result of pre-sitting arrangement, we've changed it one evening to 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, we are expecting to start with him. But the clerks, according to the clerks, they were not able to reach out to him. And to Honorable Dr. Edward Romani Boama, he is coming at 11. It's just a matter of being patient. When he came, we said, yes, according to minority leader, we are supposed to vet you. You didn't come and blah, 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 blah. You heard me saying that in life, you have to be patient. Because it is out of patience that you'll be able to operate an ant and see the intestine. This is another in my local language. Right. That Jimbodi, Yukona Kuna Adidi, Afikona Ifa Doka. So I so much believe in patience. If minority leader had been patient, he would have realized that the mistake really doesn't come from Omani Boama. The mistake does not also come from the clerk. Because the decision taken, they were not able to communicate it. And we can't expect them that night to go chasing the nominee at home to be able to deliver the information apart from getting him on phone. So if they are unable to get him on phone, there shouldn't be any hula baloo about it. So I took the trouble to apologize to the nominee, and he also followed up with an apology. I believe that is a hallmark of a leader. Two, there was occasion where there was a publication in newspapers, WhatsApp platform, that Okujeto was smuggled to be vetted on Thursday. Far from that, we programmed Okujeto to be vetted on Thursday. Based on the program, the clerk of the committee had written to Okujeto to appear before the committee to be vetted on Thursday. So clearly, I do not know the basis of somebody alleging that he was smuggled in. And when I realized that he wasn't happy about that particular attitude, and he made it clear in his preliminary comment as a chairperson of the committee, though I do not know whoever placed it, I had to apologize to him. The person may be a member of the committee or a non-member of the committee. So basically, I never posted that, but based on my cultural settings, I took the lead and I render an apology. So the fact that as a leader, you render an apology for the circumstances that the person deserves to be apologized to does not reduce me as a member of parliament or a chairman of the committee to anything. I am still a member of parliament representing the good people of Akaji South constituency, the first deputy speaker, and then the chairman of the vetting committee. irrespective of the number of apologies that I have rendered.
If you go back to watch the tape,
it is part of my nature.
If you go back to watch the tape, you remained seated when the clashes were unfolding in Parliament. I mean, at the Appointments Committee. Why were you seated?
Well, I was actually surprised about the turn of events because I least expected the minority side to be pulling the table because it hasn't gotten to that. If we've all taken a view that Honorable Akando has brought the chiefs and then the opinion leaders from Sevi, Yaboso, based on the understanding we had to conduct his vetting on that fateful day, and all of a sudden, a decision was taken at that moment that we are not going to vet Akando. I was personally not happy, and I don't think it should come to that. Above all, Akando, Honorable Akando, is one of our colleagues on the floor of Parliament. We sit together, we interact together. Assuming he's even not a member of Parliament, he doesn't deserve to be treated that way. So I felt so sorry and rather unfortunate that those things were unfolding. It was really uncalled for. It was needless.
If you once again watch the video, you have your own account of what may have led to the order for the furniture to be broken. Do you have any clear recollection on who is responsible for giving that marching order? And do you believe that person is contained in a list of 4 MPs who have now been suspended?
Well, I believe that person is not contained in the list of 4 MPs to be suspended.
Really?
Nevertheless, I must place on record that the minority leader play it smart and safe. I have heard him asking them to do some of the things that they did. But when they were about to start, he left the room. It was later that he came back to the room. So at the scene, the actual scene, where they were dragging the table and putting the chairs on the table, he was, at that material moment, not in the room. So when he came, he couldn't even move to my left side. He was behind me at my right side. So, but I know that Jerry was under his instruction to move to go and stop Akando from taking the seat to be sworn in.
How come?
He asked his side that they should all put on the microphone. I have heard him saying they should call some people to come to the vetting room.
So was the speaker charitable to these 4?
Well, I believe that danger beget man, the cry of distress summoned for relief. As a matter of fact, if we want to go into the nitty-gritty of this particular matter, they may suffer a harsher punishment than the suspension. I heard people arguing that the suspension should have been 8 days instead of 2 weeks. And it all boiled down to the same thing. Saying 8 days and 2 weeks is the same thing. Because naturally, the 8 sitting days amount to 2 weeks. Because the sitting day of Parliament in a week is 4. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now, Mondays we do not normally sit unless there is something urgent where that right not to sit on Monday will be waived to enable Parliament to sit on Monday. We can even sit Saturday, Sunday, subject to the waiver of the same right that we don't sit during weekend. So sitting day in Parliament for a week is 4. And 4 times 2, which amount to the 8 days, is 2 weeks. So in a parliamentary calendar, 8 sitting days is 2 weeks.
You believe that the list should include Alexander Apenyo-Markin, who is the minority leader?
Well, it is not my belief, but that is what ought to have been.
How did the Speaker arrive at this fall? Were you the one who reported them?
Well, that is why people feel that I was the one who reported it. That's why the general public is being confused by our standing orders. If I were to report this particular matter, what will happen is that Speaker would have referred the matter to privileges. However, this is a contempt in facie parliamentum. It happened in Parliament. So a decision can be taken on it by the Speaker of Parliament without saying be referred to Privileges Committee. Let me reduce it to this level for the general public to understand. If you disobey, you damage the credibility or integrity of the courts, there will be a motion citing you for contempt. The same thing applies in Parliament. But in this case, the contempt is committed before the court. What we refer to in a legal parlance as contempt in facie quaere before the court. The court needs no further evidence to punish you for contempt because such an act happened in the presence of the court. Parliamentary committees are parliamentary sitting, and this thing happened in the presence of Parliament. And the chairman of the vetting committee is more or less like the Speaker of the vetting committee. So there is nothing that the chairman can do that the Speaker doesn't have the authority to do.
So you were the one who took the decision?
So I have not reported the matter, but it is something that happened in the full glare of Parliament.
I get the point.
So because it is a contempt in Parliament, the Speaker himself has taken notice of the consent in the presence of Parliament.
So you were never involved. You were never involved in the four names that led to their suspension.
No.
The Speaker himself took a decision without Penny Markin being on the list.
Yes, he took a decision.
And that's where you criticize the Speaker.
That's why I'm saying that
for not noticing that he was part of it.
Giving me the opportunity, things that I've heard coming out from him, I would have roped him into it. Because for every event, there must be an antecedent factor. But if you look at the video, he has not physically taken part in the destruction of the parliamentary properties, the table, and then the speakers. He was not physically involved in the dragging of the table. So everybody can go back and watch it carefully. And because such incidents happened in Parliament and it was watched by the Speaker, he took decision based on that. But I would have gone further to take decision based on what I have listened to in addition. So it is important that a committee has been formed. I do not know whether I will be one of the witnesses before the committee.
Even before we delve into the activities of the committee, the point about criminality and distraction to state property. You are a lawyer, you understand the implications as well. Beyond the remits of Parliament, this is a crime against the state. The Speaker, in fact, recognizes that and directs that a complaint be lodged by the Clerk of Parliament or to the committee to the Ghana Police Service for further action. Do you know if that has been effected, and has a report been officially launched at the police?
Well, I wouldn't know, but I would say that is in the right direction, because Parliament per se, we may not have the expertise to be able to do the forensics and actually investigate this particular matter. But the Ghana Police Service, they have the expertise and can really do forensic investigation into the matter, so that wherever something is hidden, they will bring it out to enable Parliament take decision based on that particular.
Do you have an idea when that will be done?
So, well, I wouldn't have an idea because I am not part of the authority going to conduct the investigation. So it is only Ghana Police Service that will tell us how and when the investigation.
If the Clerk of Parliament fails to, lodge that complaint with the Ghana Police Service, will you be willing to do that?
Well, if I am asked to do that particular complaint, I would be ready as the chairman of the committee so to do. But Parliament will communicate to the police through the clerk. Remember, at the committee level, when Honorable Habib, the first deputy chief whip, came with false information from the speaker, I indicated clearly to say that the speaker doesn't communicate to committees through him. If the speaker intends to communicate to this particular committee to bring proceedings to an end, the speaker will use the appropriate channel to communicate to the committee. Speaker could have directed the clerk or any of the deputy clerks to go to the committee and tell the committee that henceforth cease proceedings. But unfortunately, that happens to be a miscommunication emanating from him. Honorable Majority Leader, in the person of Honorable Ayariga, had to even come in to correct him that that wasn't what the speaker said, and that the speaker had directed that the committee should meet him on Monday at 10:30.
Your party,
nothing has.
Your party, the National Democratic Congress, is in power, and you successfully vetted the Attorney General. He's been passed. He's been sworn in as the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. You, upon swearing in as First Deputy Speaker of the House, has sworn to uphold the laws of the land. Would you refer this matter to the Attorney General in the aspects of criminality, destruction of state property, if the Ghana Police Service fails to act on this matter?
Well, the matter has gotten to a stage where the Speaker of Parliament is now in the helm of affairs. So if the Speaker of Parliament is in the helm of affairs of a matter, why would the Deputy Speaker be towing a different line?
Yeah, but you are a lawyer, you belong to the National Democratic Congress. My question is quite direct.
I do not intend to do that.
Yeah, but if the Attorney General, do you believe, and you are a lawyer of many years of standing, do you believe, first of all, that the Attorney General has locus to go into this matter, the criminal aspects of it, and to prosecute or take up charges against these members of Parliament?
Well, it depends upon the outcome of the investigation conducted into the matter. There are certain things by constitutional imperative will be covered by privileges of a member of Parliament. So it is only when they are out of the investigation and the reports of the Ghana Police Service is out, it is then that we'll pick it up from there. But speaking on a matter under investigation without knowing what will be the outcome of the investigation at this particular stage, I will resist the invitation.
You understand my question too well, isn't it? You are a lawyer.
Yes.
The Attorney General has locus over this matter, isn't it? You would want him to take it up?
It's not a matter of the Attorney General taking it up. For even Attorney General to take up a matter, it will depend upon the outcome of the investigation, because the docket will have to be placed before the Attorney General. He will go through the docket and satisfy himself that this is a case worthy of prosecuting, having regard to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. That is why I am hitting you that there are matters of privileges that the constitutional imperative will bring to bear on the report. So it is only when the report is ready that matters can be considered from a holistic point of view, leading to a decision being taken. But at this particular stage, I am unable.
Hypothetically, if the report comes out positive, would you want the Attorney General to prosecute MPs involved?
That is what I'm saying, that if the report comes positive, that report will have to be clean as against the immunities available to parliamentarians.
And that,
whether
weighing
the activities,
the matter, hypothetically,
whether
you feel
the activities,
the AG cannot take the matter up.
For instance, let me give an example.
You're simply protecting your members of parliament.
No, the very first time that a riot happened in parliament over election of a speaker, we all saw the activities that Ahinkra was involved in. Clearly, he should have been prosecuted. But having concluded the investigation and given some immunities available to parliamentarians, he has not been prosecuted. So that is why I'm saying that.
Honorable Chair, are you telling us now that parliamentary privileges will cover what we saw last week?
That is why I'm saying that. Unless and until we get the report, you can make that determination.
But you are a lawyer as well, you understand.
But if the report is not before me, just like I am a lawyer, you are a medical doctor, the patient is not before you, but you are being asked to prescribe medication for that particular patient. Is it possible?
Yeah, but I'm giving you a hypothetical situation.
I don't have the report.
If the report comes out positive,
no lawyer
would you urge the Attorney General to take up the matter?
No lawyer will base his decision on a hypothetical situation. We base decision on the fact.
But you write exams on hypothetical situations. It's not always a real-time situation.
No, as a lawyer,
if an MP is found culpable of destroying state property, would you shield your members, the members of the committee?
It cannot be a case of a moot court practice. As a lawyer, I will want to apply the law to the facts. And now that the fact is under investigation, I will humbly wait for the matter to be investigated.
Was furniture destroyed? Was furniture destroyed last week when you sat?
Yes.
Destruction of state property, is that a crime under law?
Yes.
Should the Attorney General take up the matter?
Not only state property, destruction of a property.
So any MP caught on tape, or perhaps when the report comes out positive, having been complicit of destroying the state property, should be prosecuted.
The person should be made to face the full rigors of the law.
Prosecuted by the Attorney General.
The full rigors of the law.
That includes the Attorney General, is it?
Well, if in your thinking facing the full rigors of the law would include Attorney General, so be it. Because there are instances where the Attorney General may authorize a person other than the Attorney General himself to do prosecution.
Well, you're still watching PM Express here on the Joy News channel. We're taking a short break. When we get back, the work of the Appointments Committee is not over. In fact, 42 appointments so far. A number of them will be on their way to Parliament in terms of the nominations from President John Dramani Mahama. But what will inform the way forward, and what will the committee do about it? We'll find out when we come back from this break. And you're watching PM Express here on the Joy News channel with me, Blessed Sogah, where we are bringing you a special package from Parliament, where the Speaker of the House has set in motion processes to reconstitute Parliament's Appointments Committee. Over the last week, Ghanaians were in shock, and many of them have taken to social media, raising concerns after a brawl broke out in Parliament, where we saw some parliamentarians destroying state property. Of course, many have been reliving the moment and calling on Parliament to act swiftly and discipline some members of the House who were found on tape. Many excerpts that many of you find going viral on social media, a reason for which we've come to the House to try as much as possible to understand what transpired last week on Parliament's Appointments Committee, what the Speaker is likely to do, and what the leadership of the House itself is likely to do about all that transpired last week, and what will inform the way forward. It's part of the conversation that we will be having with the chairperson of Parliament's Appointments Committee, the First Deputy Speaker, Bernard Ahiafo, who will be my guest shortly. This is PM Express, brought to you by Syntex Tank, Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, and also Academic Times. We'll be back after this break, but when we get back, we'll put all the questions to him. Please stay. Of Parliament's Appointments Committee, the Honourable Bernard Ahiafo. And as we speak, Honourable, we know that you've done some 42, 16 plus more will be on their way in terms of nomination from President John Dramani Mahama, who's set to name the deputy ministerial roles, and I believe the District Assembly Common Fund Administrator. You know, some more persons will be appearing before your committee. Even before we get to what will inform the way forward and how you intend to cooperate with the minority side, The Speaker is giving his clear indications that there might be reconstitution of the Appointments Committee. Is that going to exclude the 4 MPs who've been suspended now?
Well, it may, and it may not, depending upon the time that the committee is being reconstituted.
What conversations do you have with the Speaker on that, and what clear orders is he giving to you on what is likely to happen?
Well, probably the Speaker is considering the number of the committee, and in view of the fact that 2 is out, he is having in contemplation whether the 9 can continue to do the work. And for me, the 9 can continue to do the work of the committee.
And that will constitute recomposition?
If Parliament has 276 and now 275 because of a pending issue in relation to one constituency, the fact that 20 members of Parliament have been suspended, will it go a long way to reconstitute Parliament? Would it go a long way to establish that Parliament doesn't have quorum to do business because of the absence of the 20? What then is a quorum to do business? We have 2 types of quorum. We have a commencement quorum and a decision-making quorum. So, by Article 102 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, a quorum of Parliament is 1/3. So, once 1/3 of the total number of parliamentarians are present in Parliament, Parliament can continue to conveniently do business. Now, relating this to the committee, once 1/3 of the members of the committee are present, the committee can proceed to do its business, because the rules that apply to Parliament, entire Parliament, applies to the committee. Now, what is 1/3 of the committee members? Standing Order 217 indicated the composition of the committee, and the total number of the committee members are 11. So, based on Article 102, 1/3 of 11 is about 4. So when you have 4 members of the committee present, the committee can proceed to do business. Now, Article 104 talks about a quorum to take decision. That is 50% of all members of Parliament. And that has been interpreted carefully by the Supreme Court in the case of Justice Abdullahi versus Attorney General. So at any point in time, when Parliament has 50% of all members present, Parliament can take lawful decision. Now, when we bring that to a committee of 11, the appointment committee made up of 11, it means that 50% is actually 5.5, but we don't have 0.5 of a human being, so it is 6. So once 6 members are present at the committee meeting, the committee can take decision.
Already the minority leader is challenging that. He held a press conference today, pointing to potential unconstitutionality. You've also heard from the likes of the former leader of the House, Osei Chema and Sabonsu, who have all challenged the decision of the Speaker. Do you feel that there's legal grounding?
I am addressing
do you feel there's legal grounding?
The issue of the illegality that he's talking about.
Do you feel
so if you can give me the opportunity,
but that's why I'm asking the question.
I would address this particular issue, the illegality of the decision taken by the committee, so that we can carry the Ghanaians along. Then thereafter, you can bring your question, and I will deal decisively with it. So when 6 members of the committee are present, then it means they can take decision. They have a quorum to take a decision, following the decision of the Supreme Court in the case of Justice Abdullahi versus Attorney General. So I don't see how the decision of the committee can be invalidated on grounds of a quorum, either to commence business or to take decision. So for me, it amounts to a figment of their own imagination, saying that the decision of the committee is a nullity. It will amount to having a blurred view of the law.
Which part of the law warrants the Speaker to suspend these MPs?
We have to take the combined effects of Order 5, 129, 130, up to 132 or so.
And that clearly spells out that the Speaker could suspend these people beyond 2 weeks?
Yes. Even if you listen to the general public, if Speaker doesn't have the power to suspend, where are they saying that the Speaker's power to suspend should not go beyond 8 days? If he doesn't have the power, and they miscalculated the 8 days not to represent 2 weeks. But I'm telling you that 2 weeks is 8 sitting days, because we have 8 sitting days of Parliament within 2 weeks, 4 sitting days in every week. So I do not know why people are of the view that he doesn't have the power to exercise. That is why if you listen to the full communication, Speaker indicated that this is a contempt in facie parliamentum, just like a contempt in facie curiae. In the present of the person. So it is not based on a report for which he will have to be referring it to privileges for investigation to be conducted in the matter. Let's say there is a speaker or a judge here and have slapped you. What evidence would the person want again to determine whether you've been slapped or not?
I see. The one leading the charge is the minority leader, Alexander Penyumakin himself. What kind of relationship do you have you enjoyed from him so far, serving on the appointments committee?
Well, I have a very good relationship with him, but sometimes I find it very difficult to take the excesses. I am one particular person who will not agree on one thing with you, and after a few minutes or few hours, then to behave as if that was not what we have agreed upon. It pisses me off. There is nothing that the clerk of the committee has put out there that we have not agreed upon. There is no occasion that the clerk will not give me and give the minority leader a draft report. Even if you go back to recap, there are instances where the two of us will be sitting down there and the clerk will hold 2 reports and give me one, give him one, in a full glare of the camera. So I don't know why he's alleging that he's not been given the reports. There is one thing that he's refusing to realize. It's about time for him to realize that he's no longer a majority leader, but he's a minority leader.
He says few but mighty.
Yes,
that's how
he's a majority leader. He can use any acronym to describe himself, but for me, he's a minority leader.
It doesn't look like I think he's the only one having
that is the way of majority leaders giving information, or chairman of the committee taking information from the clerk and giving authorization to the clerk. By our practice, clerks of the committee doesn't take decision from the ranking member. They take decision from the chairman of the committee. That is why their letters mostly raised have been directed by the chairman of the committee, not the ranking member of the committee. But because he's coming from the majority point of view, sometimes I believe he forgets himself and comes to a realization that I am operating from a minority point of view. So I think That
but it's not everyone who sees it that way. I recall speaking to the deputy minority leader a couple of days ago. In fact, she described you as having lacked exposure on the committee of appointments because she feels that although you've been, a long-serving member of parliament, you've not necessarily had the chance as chairperson. Neither have you served enough on the appointments committee, a reason for which we're seeing what's happening now. Do you admit that you are limited in terms of experience on the appointments committee, a reason for which we're seeing what we're seeing?
Well, in everything that you do, you get more experience along the line. But I will not say that that was the reason. My brother, sometimes I do things and take decisions from an informed point of view. The general public might not be aware of the reason for which certain decisions, certain posture, certain tolerance level were coming from the chairperson of the appointment committee. But I know exactly what I'm doing at every point in time. I have been taking an informed decision based on the circumstances. I have all along resisted many invitations to fight because of a stated reason. Look, I am a member of the NDC. My colleague NDC members have been vetted because NDC is in power. His Excellency the President is like my father. Therefore, if I am being invited by my opponent that we should go and fight in my father's farm, knowing very well that if I engage the person in fighting, it is the crop of my father in the farm that will be destroyed. If I take a decision not to fight, am I a weak person or a sensible person?
Well, you're left with the judgment because we will allow the Ghanaians to make the
I have told myself that I can be vilified, but once I know what I am doing, I will one day emerge victorious.
Okay, because of time,
let me give you an example. You've mentioned that it's never happened that in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, over 40 ministers will be vetted. If my tolerance level, if my posture has resulted into that, because I believe strongly, if I were to be combative, like how Ghanaians are expecting me to be combative, we would not have been where we are today. So having gotten to where we are today, don't you think that it's about time for Ghanaians to come to a realization that I am a result-oriented person, my posture, my level of tolerance has really yielded the needed result. That NDC as a party, that His Excellency the President needs to constitute his cabinet in a given time.
Okay, the jury is out there, and
so
for the sake of time,
the jury is out
it's
there.
Definitely out there. For the sake of time, I want us to clear some issues off the table very quickly before we wrap up. First, touching on issues of integrity, and some revelations were made on in the course of your work. The essence of the appointments committee, I believe, is to vet these individuals and to make sure that they are qualified and also possess some level of integrity. But in the course of your duty, some nominees instead questioned the integrity of some members of the committee, including the ranking, Apenyo marking as well. You were surprised, for instance, when the issue came up that he had a government lease for more than 90 years. And of course, as astute as a lawyer as you are, I pointed out that clearly it will be in violation of the law if an individual was in possession of a state lease beyond 90 years. These are revelations coming up, in the course of your work. Do you feel such matters should be referred to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, any agency that will be the appropriate forum to deal with, for instance, Apenyo Makin's case that you were surprised at?
I feel that if you are living in a glass house, you don't throw stone because you end up breaking your house. This issue relating to aura, my understanding is that they are Operation Recover All Loot. That's aura. and they are gathering information for a decision to be taken as to how they can recover those loots. For me, it is not an offense to acquire a government lease, but the manner in which you acquire it is what is important. As you said, I know that government lease are mostly 50 years. So when somebody is coming out with a 99 years lease from the government, I'm a bit surprised, because the practice that I know is that a foreigner will not get a lease beyond 50 years. A Ghanaian will not get a government lease beyond 50 years. So to have a 99 years lease was a shock to me. But because the nominee, Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa, was the chairman of Oral, they had information that as a chairman of the committee I do not have. So I was quite surprised that when a question was posed to him regarding where he lives, where Oral operates, and answers were provided, and he went further probing. For me, if the office of Oral being used is a place rented by Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, it should end it there. How would the nominee be able to know whether that was a dollar-rated rent or not? Because definitely he wasn't the one who rented the place. You understand? How would he be able to know that the person who constructed the house, not being the one who rented the place, got a lease from government or never got a lease from government? So in response, the nominee was trying to prove to him that if acquisition of government lease is wrongful, then as a chairman of the Oral, we have evidence that you've also acquired a government lease for 99 years, and I have the document with me. You see, so that was what really happened. So it is now left with Oral to investigate into anybody's acquisition. For example, including that of Afenyo Markins and Bernard Ahiafo. If I have a lease from government, they can delve into the circumstances leading to my lease from the government, and as to whether it is genuine or it is tainted with fraud.
But we all know it cannot exist that there will be a lease for more than 50 years.
Yes.
Government.
Yeah, that is a surprise. I know it is always 50 years.
Okay, beyond the lease, yeah.
The other issue is that, which call for worry, is that we all know the value, a hazy idea about the value of land in cantonments, in airports, in rich residential area. So for somebody to hold 100 by 100 size plot of land, and the record at Lands Commission shows that he acquired it less than $20,000. That is about 300,000 Ghana cedis. Then he calls for worry.
What is also calling for worry is the integrity of the committee itself. I've spoken to the majority leader, who was a previous member, if we could describe him as such, of the appointments committee. When the issue about Oliver Bakavoma came up on the issue of alleged corruption on the committee. This is what the majority leader told me, and I'm just paraphrasing, that a business person or groups of business individuals came around and expressed interest in giving money to the committee.
Well,
did you take the money?
Well, I never took money from anybody.
Some people came, some people
but you should have concluded the statement made by the majority leader to the effect that he told the businessman that the nominee doesn't need money to be vetted. The nominee would be okay You understand? You should have stated that clearly. If the majority leader had told the businessman that, oh, it is true, go and look for money and bring it, it would have been a different story altogether. But he was able to tell the businessman that no, money is not needed in this.
Does the businessman also come to you?
No, I have not received any
the businessman.
Well, I don't know the businessman.
You've never heard about the businessman?
No, I've never heard about that because I do not even know the nominee in question that Honorable Ayariga was talking about. Look, I later heard that some of the nominees, it's been alleged that because we are not able to vet them the day we selected them for vetting, the chiefs and opinion leaders who followed up from far their constituencies to give them moral support will have to sleep over. And this has placed some financial constraint on them. As a result, they were looking for support to be able to help pay the hotel and the feeding of these people. That clearly couldn't be coming to the committee.
Oh, so possibly,
yes.
That is where the contributions.
Possibly, that is why the so-called businessman is asking Ayariga that, oh, they will have to mobilize to support the nominee, not to support the committee. There's a difference between the committee and the nominee. And what Ayariga said was that he was approached by a businessman that they want to mobilize to support the nominee. So Ayariga came in to say that, oh, it doesn't require any money, so the nominee will be fine.
So from intelligence that you have,
he also didn't know.
The money
he may also didn't know
to the nominees.
So he also may not know whether truly the nominee is in the category of those who brought the family, the supporters, the chiefs from far, and they had to. Some even complain that they may have to lodge them at the hotel for 2-3 days, which is very sympathetic. So if a businessman goes to support any nominee in that regard, it basically have nothing to do with the committee. I have adopted approach that I don't need anything in any manner whatsoever from any of the nominees. So some of the nominees were my very good friends. And during the time of their nomination, I don't engage them even in conversation because of my position as the chairman of the vetting committee and because of the fact that they will be coming to me. That's why when I pose a question to Honorable Dr. Edward Romani Boma, he said the last time he spoke to me was somewhere in September, which means that when he was designated, since that day, I've never set my eye on him. He never came to my office. I didn't even call him on phone. So by what means would I be demanding money from these people? But the truth will gradually come to bear. We then invited Oliver Becker-Vormawor to appear before the committee, and we were going to refer him to Privileges Committee. Then in the morning, I got to office and received a call from one of his lawyers to the effect that we are making reference to 2 posts. One, very dangerous, was not coming from Oliver Becker-Vormawor. So this was what was coming from Oliver Becker-Vormawor. Then I said, okay, if such being the case, he must appear before the committee and then state this into the records, that this post is not coming from me. I said, what happened to what coming from you? He said, oh, counsel, their approach is that if the committee is offended by that, he is prepared to render apology to the committee. Now, it is the committee members who are affected by that particular post. Why then do I refer that matter to Privileges when he is ready to apologize to the committee members? Because if you refer them to Privileges and at the Privileges Committee, he is prepared to render apology. The apology must come to members of the committee. And he has taken that particular decision. So why refer? And he was able to establish, and a little bit of investigation is revealing that that particular post emanated from MPP Project Bureau.
Right.
So what I did was to refer it to NCA to do the forensics and actually trace
where it's coming from,
where the document is actually coming
but
from.
all of
so
that,
when we get that, then the committee from informed point of view will decide whether the issue should still be taken as a matter of privilege.
A lot of water under the bridge, but we're all looking forward to the next phase of the voting. Have you spoken to the Speaker? What orders and directives do you have from him in terms of how you're going to handle this last phase, or perhaps the very concluding stages of the vetting? And what orders do you have from him clearly?
Well, the rules are clear. All of us are waiting for the nomination. And as soon as we receive the nomination, two things are to happen by way of preliminary actions. One is to write officially to the security agencies to have report on each of the nominees. Two is to write for a publication to be made, and then memoranda should be submitted by the general public. Now, when the committee is satisfied that these two things are done, then we'll have our preliminary committee meeting. And at that particular preliminary committee meeting, we'll program who is going to be vetted first, second, third, fourth, fifth. In view of the fact that they are deputy ministers, how many are we doing in a day? You understand? Right. Then, having agreed on that, instruction will be given to the clerk of the committee. And based on the arrangement, the clerk of the committee will write to each nominee stating the date and the time the nominee is supposed to appear before the vetting committee and to be vetted. And when the date and time is due, then the committee will proceed to vet the said deputy minister.
Will you be excluding visitors now?
Visitors in terms of?
The guests.
No. The letter indicates that don't bring more than 10. So it set upper limit.
So you're going to be enforcing that strictly?
So I have even asked the marshal that personally I'm not going to introduce more than 10 anymore, and that the marshal should be by the gate at the 10th person. All others can go and wait.
Regardless of who they may be?
Yes. It happened last. I'm sorry to say this.
It looks like you're losing your patience.
Some high-profile persons had to watch the proceedings in members' office.
I see.
Rather than coming into the vetting.
You're known to be a very patient man. You're losing it because you posted in the last few days that you like to give a long rope to people.
That is my nature.
You're losing that now.
That is my nature. I am not losing it. But you see, I will give you room to operate, but don't abuse it. If you don't abuse it, I'll be fine with you. Immediately you are trying to abuse it, that is when I take a different posture altogether.
Are you expecting the minority to return and to work with you as you vet the last?
Well, this will not be the first time in my life in Parliament that minority will stage a walkout. If you stage a walkout on an issue, once that issue is over, you will walk in and then you continue with the business. However, it is their decision. If they feel that they want to perpetually stay away from vetting, well, I do not have control over their decision. But once we have received the nomination, we'll proceed to invite memoranda from the general public. We'll proceed with a letter for a security check. And once those two documents are ready, We'll program them for vetting and then give notice.
Will the Reconstitution...
The notice will be for the preliminary meeting to agree on the number, when and how.
Will the Reconstitution include the exclusion of the clerk of the House? To the committee?
Clerk of the committee is not a member of the committee. So when they are talking about reconstitution of the committee, what came to mind is whether or not we can agree that in the absence of both whips, the minority chief whip and then the majority chief whip, Parliament can agree to respective members' position to be occupied by another person. Maybe in the absence of the whip, the deputy whips are there. So once the two whips have suffered a suspension and they cannot act in the committee, going forward, can the deputy come and do the work of the whips? So the respective deputy, first deputies, may be given the opportunity to, in the potom, act for the whips on the committee. Maybe, apart from that, I do not see any other composition. And the clerk not being a member of the committee, I don't think parliamentarians or parliament can take a decision that they are not going to work with a particular clerk, because they come under the parliamentary service.
Yeah, and
not
before
Parliament of the Republic of Ghana.
Right,
and parliamentary service has set out the procedures for doing things.
And just before I take your message to the people of Ghana, this very clerk has come under criticism. Have you spoken to her ever since, and is she willing to continue to work with you?
Yes, I have spoken to her.
How is she feeling?
And I always encourage her that these are some of the things that will happen in a moment in everybody's life. She should take it lightly, put herself together, and continue to work with the committee. Because personally, I had the platform in other stations to apologize to her for the unfortunate incident that happened. It was needless. It was uncalled for. No matter how dissatisfied you are as a member of parliament about the conduct of a clerk, the procedure to seek redress is there. The clerks are working, the clerks of the committee, they are working under the clerk of parliament. So if you have a perception about a particular clerk, I believed your complaint should be taken with the clerk of parliament rather than standing in front of the camera. The general public is watching you, putting up a conduct that the minority leader had put up. For me, it is very reprehensible, it's very reckless, very needless, uncalled for, and it is regrettable. So he should join me.
Will he be referred to the
committee? He should join me. He should join me in apologizing to the clerk of the committee.
Will you be referred to the privileges committee, either by yourself?
Jage Goba.
Yeah. Will he be referred to the privileges committee either by yourself or by the clerk?
Well, for me, if the opportunity is given him and he takes advantage of that opportunity, there will be no need referring him to privileges.
If he fails to apologize,
if he fails to take opportunity, then we'll go back to the rules, and whatever rules that should be applicable will be applicable.
So it's not the end of the matter?
Yes, it's not the end of the matter.
He may be referred?
Yes, it's not the end of the matter. Because a member of parliament cannot behave in that manner towards a clerk of parliament. Why not go and complain to the overall clerk of parliament about the conduct of the employee? For instance, does he accord with common sense and reason that Adjo FM, a producer, has misbehaved towards you, And instead of drawing the managing director's attention to it, in a full glare of the cameras, you are rebuking, saying all sorts of things, promising to deal with the clerk, alleging she is partisan. For me, it's very uncalled for.
So you may lead him to the, refer the matter to the Privileges Committee, or the clerk has the power also to do
that. Is why I'm saying that
if he doesn't
an opportunity will be given to him to apologize to the clerk, to resolve the matter amicably.
If he fails
But if he fails, then we should go back and apply the rules.
Which is? To refer him?
Yes.
Well, we don't have,
as a majority leader, you are not above the law.
I see.
Yes, we are all abiding by the same.
Right. We have to go because we don't have, obviously, all of the time. If there's a message that you'd want to leave the people of Ghana with, what would be that message and what would you want them to know?
Well, I want the entire country to know that in matters of this nature, patience is the key. So we need to be patient for everybody who is given a responsibility to discharge. The person is on the hot seat. He knows how hot the seat is, and he can best find the best way of sitting over there. So I employ the general public to be a bit patient with the appointment committee, and gradually we'll get there, and we are almost there.
Honorable Bernard Ahemfo, thank you so much for talking to us, and we're hopeful that the next phase of your vetting will be successful.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you so much.
Well, that's all we have for you in this package of PM Express, coming to you from Parliament. I am Blessed Sogah. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. We have more stories there for you. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.